Not long after killing Lil Rob and Monty, Lil Jeff hurried back to the car to meet up with his affiliate T Slick. Together, they sped off from the scene. However, they left just enough on their trail as police have now tracked the vehicles to Lil Jeff. What we're about to find out is the true extent to Lil Jeff's crimes, all sealed in a new footage that has just gone viral, and whether his participation in those two murders was responsible for his untimely death. Video showing double murder goes viral. As the first month of the year 2025 closed out, a footage from exactly a year ago that captures the brutal murder of two teenage boys resurfaced, sending the internet into a meltdown. This comes after one of the suspected killers, 22-year-old Tommy Coleman, also known as T Slick, was recently arrested in connection with the double murder. T Slick was an associate and close friend of Lil Jeff, the man accused of masterminding the murder plot. In the video, which has now gone viral, the two teenagers, 16-year-old Robert Boston, aka Lil Rob, and 17-year-old Monterio Williams, aka Monty, could be seen walking in front of the elevators of the Washington Wabash station at around 12:30 p.m. on January 26, 2024. In a fleeting moment of madness, three men, all wearing masks, pulled up under the bridge in a dark blue Infiniti SUV, got out of the car, and opened fire on Lil Rob and Monty. The shooters were later identified as Lil Jeff and T Slick, alongside a third accomplice. According to eyewitnesses, the trio kept firing for approximately 15 seconds as bystanders ran for cover and the two victims fell to the ground. After the shooting, the three gunmen got back into the Infiniti and drove off. However, various surveillance cameras and license plate readers were able to track the vehicle along Stevenson Expressway and Deuceable Lakeshore Drive before the gunmen eventually made their way to South Suburban Dolton and Calumet City. While the gunmen made their getaway, paramedics arrived at the scene and quickly transported the victims to Northwestern Memorial Hospital, where they died. Monty suffered gunshot wounds to his right hip and chest, while Lil Rob was shot in the chest. On Wednesday, January 29, 2025, just over a year after the double murder that shook the neighborhood, police arrested one of the suspected killers, T Slick, in the 5700 block of North Mason Avenue. Lil Jeff, who was said to be the mastermind of the shooting, was killed in June 2024, while the third accomplice is yet to be charged in this case. T Slick has now been charged with 2 felony counts of first-degree murder and 1 count each of attempted first-degree murder, aggravated discharge of a firearm from an occupied vehicle, and possession of a weapon by a felon. He made his first appearance in court on Saturday, February 1st, 2025, where prosecutors revealed that Lil Rob and Monty were childhood friends and had a history of bitter rivalry with Lil Jeff, T Slick, and the third accomplice. According to prosecutors, the third shooter was Lil Rob and Monty's classmate at Innovations High School. Court documents also suggested that footage from the school captured him changing clothes and leaving campus about 90 minutes before the shooting. Prosecutors further revealed that video and GPS data from his phone showed that he boarded a CTA train to Roosevelt minutes after leaving the school. He then walked to a nearby parking garage where surveillance footage shows him getting into the stolen Infiniti. In fact, police investigations using location data from all three suspects' phones showed that their devices tracked together before, during, and after the murders. To make matters worse for themselves, shortly after the shooting, Lil Jeff took to Instagram to post a video of himself and his accomplices inside the Infiniti. The video was posted about 20 minutes after the shooting and captured the gunmen wearing black masks while singing the verse of a song that depicts gunmen wearing masks and riding in a stolen car before getting out and shooting at someone, the exact scenario that had just played out a few moments before that. In another video posted by Lil Jeff days after the murders, the rapper can be seen riding in a car alongside a friend and rapping to the same song that was playing in the Infiniti after killing Monty and Lil Rob. At some point in the video, he turns down the volume before revealing to his followers that the song motivated him to go slide.
Look, if y'all ever going through some shit and y'all need, like, y'all want to get back, y'all need some shit to tear y'all up, play this song right here 100 times. I bet you gonna get the job done. Right in my line, brother.
He then goes on to make the shocking confession. Lil Jeff continued,
I popped out listening to this shit for, ooh, this shit right here gonna give you real motivation. Hold on, look.
Right after this statement, the rapper turns up the music and continues to rap about killing his ops. Lil Jeff and his crew had a long history of dispute with Monty and Lil Rob. However, things took a bad turn when Monty and Lil Rob stole 2 wristwatches that belonged to Lil Jeff. After stealing the watches, Monty and Lil Rob shared several videos on social media, taunting Lil Jeff over the stolen watches. In one particular video, Monty can be seen in the company of a group of friends as they flash the stolen watches in front of the camera while calling out their oops to stop wearing that fake-ass jewelry. One of them can also be seen flashing a gun, and he can be heard telling Lil Jeff to stop wearing his fake AP while showing off the iced-out watch. The video was posted on Reddit a year ago, and several users revealed their shock at how the young men could lose their lives over something with little material value. One user wrote, "Hate to be that dude, but I'm really into watches. Not only is an iced out AP 100K, getting a real authentic one is hard without connections. Like you can show them the money but still be waitlisted at authorized dealers. They dying over fakes." Another user wondered why many of the street guys love doing things that literally put a target on their backs, like going to social media to brag about stealing from an op. The user commented, "I don't understand one thing in USA especially. Why so many of guys in the streets post their work or rap about it, full snitching mode. Do they want to die or let ops know it was them who robbed him and him or killed who and who? Just putting yourself as a bigger target and a brighter green light." Unsurprisingly, Lil Jeff saw their actions as the ultimate disrespect and began plotting his retaliation. In the end, 2 lives got taken for the 2 wristwatches that were stolen from him. But that didn't close the chapter on this street beef. On January 31st, 2024, 5 days after Monti and Lil Rob were murdered, Lil Squirrel, an acquaintance of Lil Jeff, was fatally shot in retaliation. A few moments later, Lil Jeff addressed the Lil Squirrel's death in a now disappeared Instagram story, stating that his ops would kill anybody when they emotional. He also said, "Stay safe, all my innocent people." However, the death of a close associate didn't deter Lil Jeff from continuing to claim the murders of Monti and Lil Rob. In several of his songs, Lil Jeff rapped about taking out the 2 teenagers and adding to his number of bodies. Yes, the dude may have just been 21 when he was taken out, but he had already dropped several of his ops over the years. In fact, this was no secret to anyone, because Lil Jeff took it upon himself to always brag about having multiple murders to his name, just as passionately as he bragged about killing Monti and Lil Rob. But the rapper wasn't just murdering people for fun or in retaliation, he was also stacking up bodies for money. Lil Jeff was a paid killer. Bloodhound. Lil Jeff, also known as Lil Jeff Hardy, was a member of the Bloodhound Chicago gang, which is also known by the monikers of Brain Dead, Wiz City, and Drill City. Although Lil Jeff started rapping quite early, he gained popularity in the drill rap scene after hinting at being responsible for double murders of Monti and Lil Rob in some of his songs. But those were only 2 of the 10 murders that Lil Jeff himself proudly bragged about before his death. In most of his music, the rapper talked about killing 10 people, and at some point he even hopped on Instagram Live to hint that he had gotten his 11th body. However, in an interview with DJ Vlad in October 2024, British documentarian Trap Lore Ross disputed Lil Jeff's claims that he had recorded a 11th body, stating that there wasn't just enough time between catching his 11th body and him losing his life. During the interview, Ross also talked about Lil Jeff's friendship with rapper Q50 and how the 2 were allegedly paid killers. According to the Brit, Lil Jeff and Q50 were doing hits for money in other cities outside Chicago. Ross said,
"So there's a whole bunch of lyrics that they've got talking about I'm in Milwaukee taking hits for paper, doing hits for change."
Ross went on to reveal how the 2 were later linked to a triple homicide that happened in Milwaukee in 2022. While citing a report from Reddit, Ross explained that Lil Jeff and Q50 were actually paid to kill 1 guy, but ended up killing 3 men. The 3 men in the March 2022 shooting were later identified as Anthony Thompson, Tyrese McKinney, and Clarence Harris. The 3 men were found shot dead at an apartment near 54th and Mill Street. The triple homicide stunned the neighborhood, and at the time of the shooting, police authorities struggled to find any leads pointing to any suspects for the attack. However, it didn't take long for the duo of Lil Jeff and Q50 to begin running their mouths and self-snitching. According to Ross,
and then there's a bunch of lyrics where Jeff and Q50 have these little bars where they're talking about my first hit was a 2 for 1, or I'm in Milwaukee doing hits for the change. My first hit wasn't a regular hit.
Trap Lore Ross, who released a 2023 documentary that labeled late rapper King Von as rap's first serial killer, then goes on to suggest that both Lil Jeff and Q5 idolized Von and seemed to be determined to live their life just as violently as the late rapper did. This would explain why both rappers consistently rapped about murdering people just like they had some point to prove. While Lil Jeff bragged about having 10 bodies, his counterpart Q5 also repeatedly bragged in his music about having 8 bodies. Q5 also hinted several times that he was involved in the fatal shooting that killed Monti and Lil Baby Rob. In the music video for one of his songs, Q5 raps about getting called to slide on 2 people downtown. He spits, "Blooded called, said he try a go spin. We can spin downtown, last 2 got lit." Although Q5 doesn't mention any names, he is known to belong to the same Bloodhound Chicago gang as Lil Jeff, and the murders happened downtown with 2 victims getting shot in the process. There's also further evidence that shows that more than 3 people were involved in the shooting that killed the 2 teenagers. According to a police report, after the shooting, 4 men got into the vehicle and fled the scene while 2 other suspects took off on foot. While no evidence categorically puts Q5 at the scene of the crime, his close relationship with Lil Jeff, coupled with his continuous self-snitching, has inevitably led many to believe that he was one of the shooters. But Q5 wasn't in a world of his own regarding self-snitching. You could say he was only outdone by his friend Lil Jeff. Just to paint a picture of how much of a big mouth Lil Jeff was, Trap Lord Ross in his DJ V-Lad interview described him as the king of self-snitching. According to Ross, the two not only talked about their hits and body counts, but they would also regularly provide updates about their body counts. To back up his claims, Ross cited a famous Facebook post where Q5 hopped online to announce to his followers that he just got another body to take his count to 8. Lil Jeff also did something similar when he caught his last body, taking to Instagram Live to tell his followers that he had just gone up by another one and now had 11 body counts. In one instance, Lil Jeff bizarrely talked about how his 10th body was pending because the victim was on life support. Ross tells DJ Vlad,
"These guys took the self-snitching about bodies to unheard of levels, to be honest with you."
Perhaps the most daring example of Lil Jeff's self-snitching was when he released a song titled "Ah" shortly after the shooting of the 2 teenagers. He could be heard rapping in the song. He was screaming "Ah" when he got hit. This was eerily depicted in amateur footage that captured the moment the teenagers were dying on the ground, and none of them could be heard screaming "Ah." Strangely, Lil Jeff didn't set out from the start to be a killer. In fact, from all accounts, he was a pretty good kid with a lot of potential. According to various accounts, Lil Jeff was a very talented basketball player in high school and didn't get deeply involved with the streets until he was 18. This happened after Lil Jeff's cousin Z Money was killed, forcing the rapper to get deeper into street gang culture in a bid to avenge the death of his cousin. Z Money allegedly got into a backdoor situation in which people he was very close with turned on him, eventually conspiring to get him killed. From getting into street life to avenge his cousin, it quickly became more about holding down his block and defending his crew in the war that had broken out between 2 rival groups, Drill City and Trap City. Once Lil Jeff and his right-hand man Q5 began killing people and racking up body counts, there was no turning back and things quickly spiraled out of control. Within a very short time, Lil Jeff racked up a double-digit body count. One of the earliest victims that have been attributed to Lil Jeff was an alleged member of the Crew Hit Squad who went by the name Lil Gutter and whose real name was Ronnie L. Sistrunk Jr. He was killed in 2021 around the same time when Lil Jeff was also accused of being responsible for the deaths of 8 Trey members Clay and Crew. Another person who was rumored to be killed by Lil Jeff was an alleged member of the Evans mob called Black, whose real name was Roger Lewis. The then 33-year-old was an OG of his block and was shot dead during a drive-by shooting in March 2022. However, the problem with this claim is that Black's killer was arrested a month later, and he's currently serving the sentence for the murder. While several other murders have been attributed to Lil Jeff, there is no evidence to prove that he carried them out. However, he has self-snitched on a few of these murders. One of the first murders that Lil Jeff seemingly confessed to was the killing of a Trap City member named Leal on July 25, 2023. The murder was believed to be in retaliation for the fatal shooting of Lil Jeff's cousins, and shortly after Leal was shot in his car, Lil Jeff and several other members of Bloodhound took to social media to hint that they were responsible for the hit. Then there is the murder of the 2 teenagers, which Lil Jeff brazenly confessed to being responsible for. For several months, Lil Jeff went about bragging about how he smoked his ops in his music and on live, but karma would eventually catch up on him when he decided to take a hit on another target. Lil Jeff was killed 6 months ago. Unfortunately, Bloodhound Lil Jeff had barely made a big splash in the rap industry before he met his end. In a surprising twist of fate, the rapper died on June 8, 2024, while chasing another man to his own death. In a clip making the rounds online, Lil Jeff could be spotted decked in a black hoodie and blue jeans as he chased up a man in yellow shots. The rapper confidently aims at his target, who scurried for security, only to retaliate by gunning down his assailant. A follow-up video spotlighted how Bloodhound Lil Jeff's homeboys got out of their cars for a revenge mission. In the video, about 3 men kept on shooting in the area before they eventually backed off and returned to a car. The surveillance footage does not show who the target was, nor did it specify that anyone was hit by the shooters. But at the time of the retaliation, one thing was clear: Lil Jeff was not with his crew, as he had passed away. Sources later confirmed that the shooting all went down at the 6600 block of S. Rhodes Avenue in Chicago, Illinois. Lil Jeff eventually succumbed to his injuries after being hit 19 times with 45 shell casings. Although he was rushed to the University of Chicago Medical Center, he didn't survive the gunshot injuries. Following the unexpected death announcement of the Chicago native, the internet blew up with mixed reactions. Two of Lil Jeff's ops, 800 JT and another budding rapper, couldn't wait to show off their excitement that their rival was dead. Via an Instagram live video, the pair drove off to celebrate Lil Jeff's passing. Once they reached their destination, 800 JT and his company began to rap loudly and excitedly.
Shout out my kid, you tweaking. These 2 birthdays on feed. We in the middle of the island, stop playing with us.
Shockingly, not long after this display, 800 Terajoules was killed, and like he did with Lil Jeff, many of 800 TJ's ops came down heavy with the posthumous diss. Now let's get back to Lil Jeff. Some fans maintained that Lil Jeff was the cause of his untimely death, adding that he was a terror to the community. A fan wrote, basically some nigga caught Jeff by surprise and shot him. Jeff ain't even know his ass was too thirsty. Another person quipped, bro must have been terrorizing them. A third fan added, they feel real safe now. Nunadot would be going if Jeff was still out on the streets. Another tweeted, goofy nigga that acts hard get killed. Can't say I feel bad. Rest in piss. Amid the criticisms, a handful of fans were deeply saddened by the death of their favorite rapper. A fan tweeted, Lil Jeff was some fine shit, I'm so mad they killed him. Other Chicago rappers also grieved Lil Jeff's demise by sharing messages online. Da Tweaker, who goes by the name Lil Scoom89 on Instagram, made posts on his Instagram stories to celebrate his dear friend Lil Jeff. The poster added images and captioned them, I love you, I'ma be with you soon. Brother, this shit don't feel real. Expectedly, after Lil Jeff's untimely death, law enforcement circled up on the area of the shooting. During their investigation, they confirmed that a male victim later identified as Lil Jeff was struck in the chest. The Chicago police also spotted several shell casings on the floor. In the early days of the investigation, the police maintained that they had no suspect on their radar. But a few months later, the authorities soon arrested another rapper named Trap City Rob for the murder of Lil Jeff. Trap City Rob was picked up in the same area where Lil Jeff was shot on October 30th, 2024. However, on November 1st, he was not charged due to lack of evidence. Sources also confirmed that the arrested rapper was let go likely because there was mutual combat surrounding the shooting. Shining more light on the situation was Trench's News when he appeared in an interview with DJ Vlad. The streamer explained that while Trap City Rob might have been trying to defend himself against Lil Jeff, it was an overkill because he shot at the victim 19 times. Trench's News later agreed that the police should not have arrested Trap City Rob because he was up against Lil Jeff's team.
And then you could clearly see on camera that 4 dudes is waiting outside basically to ambush them. Like, I don't think he should be in jail, but in Chicago, they lock up the wrong people.
Without mincing words, Trench's News goes over the reason for Lil Jeff's senseless killing. He claimed that Lil Jeff was killed all because of a chain. According to Trench's News, this piece of jewelry was fake. Yet he affirmed that Lil Jeff took the chain from a brother and a sister who had died. However, he lied about having the chain with him, which eventually led to an attack from unnamed assailants. The streamer claimed that some people jumped up on Lil Jeff, leading him to retaliate.
Lil Jeff tried to tell them that the chain was stolen, but he had it all along, playing around little kid games. And then when they seen him, they whooped Lil Jeff, jumped on him or fought him, and then next thing you know, it spiraled into like killing.
For many people, Lil Jeff had become a terror, and it was only fitting that he died in the same violence that he had bragged about for so long. In one of his old videos, Lil Jeff bragged about wanting to start a school for killers, and he claimed he would only be willing to teach students who had at least 2 body counts already. Trench's News touched on this during the interview, explaining that Lil Jeff somehow idolized King Von, who was killed a year before he died. The streamer went on to urge young people never to idolize such characters because it would likely end badly. Although Lil Jeff never got to face the law for any of the 10 murders he consistently bragged about, he did pay the ultimate street price. We've come to the end of this intriguing story surrounding Lil Jeff's involvement in the murders of 2 teenagers. To stay one step ahead of all trending gossip involving the most talked about celebrities, please click on the card showing on the screen.